I don't know why I thought it'd be a good idea to do this again. We are going to be doing another 24-hour readathon. I am so nervous, but also very excited to do this. I haven't really allowed myself to just sit down and read for a really long time, so that's what we're gonna do today. It is right now almost 5:30 in the morning, and we are going to start in 2 minutes. It's right now 5:28. Our first book we are going to be reading is Strange Unearthly Things. I'm only 60 pages into this, so I'll talk more about it when I know kind of more about what the book is. My goal for this readathon is, I think I'm going to do it kind of similar to how I did my last 24-hour readathon. We're not going to stay up for 24 hours in a row. I sleep too much to do that. But I think we're gonna do a 12-hour day today and a 12-hour day tomorrow. I only have Saturday and Sunday to do this. I work a full-time job. I only have today and tomorrow to do this. So I think today I want to try and read as much as I can. So that's why we're up so early. I want to try and read pretty much from 5:30 in the morning to 10 at night if I can stay up that late. Yeah, let's start this timer together. You guys ready? Let's do this. This is what the timer is looking like. It is right now 7:06, and I was gonna wait until I was done with this book to make coffee or make breakfast, but I'm really hungry right now, and I took out some Trader Joe's croissants. I'm gonna make that, and I really need coffee. I'm so tired, but I thought I would talk about the book, what it's about, how I'm feeling about it, and then I can go make breakfast. I will say, for this 24-hour readathon, because I literally only have today and tomorrow to film it, I'm not gonna be pausing the timer for talking clips. I'm not gonna be pausing the timer to make food. I do think that this has an audiobook, so I'm gonna listen to the audiobook. I want to more so go about this 24-hour readathon as 12 and 12 dedicated hours each day of reading to get through my physical TBR. That's kind of my goal for this readathon, is I really want to read all of the books that have been sitting on my physical TBR for ages. But so Strange Unearthly Things is a YA paranormal kind of fantasy book. We follow our main character. What is her name? Why do I only know Elias and Helen? Jane. We follow our main character Jane, who gets an invitation. Sorry if I slur through words right now. I have zero caffeine in my system. She gets an invitation to this mansion thing because she is sent to get rid of a spirit that resides at the mansion. And Jane has this sort of talent where she sees spirits and she can draw them, but in her drawings it kind of conjures them and it gives them power in a way. Throughout this book we follow her as well as two other characters who were sent to the manor to do this. I will say, this reads very YA. I am enjoying the book. I just don't think I necessarily love YA the way that I used to love YA a couple years ago. The only thing right now that I do not like about the book, there is this love triangle that's happening that feels so, I don't want to say irrelevant, but it feels really annoying. There's a clear, obvious choice of who this person should be with or should end up with. Also because one of the characters, I can't really say anything without spoiling it, but the love triangle that's happening, I don't really enjoy. I'm right now on page 235, chapter 26. I'm gonna listen to a couple chapters on Spotify so that I can make Stella an egg, I'm gonna make me some eggs, and then I'm gonna make my croissants and a coffee. I'm so excited to have coffee. I'm trying to decide if I want a hot coffee or if I want a latte. Usually this is very weird, but anytime I drink a hot coffee, I fall asleep right after it. So I think we might do just an iced latte. You didn't care. This video is not about my caffeine intake. Anyways, biggest pet peeve, I've talked about this before, but the audiobook on Spotify, instead of matching chapters for chapters, it's tracks. So I'm on chapter 26, so I'd assume that's track 28.
24.
No, okay, so track 30.
26. At my command, Ingrid ran past me. I shout and shake him.
Let's go
I don't
make
know what to do.
breakfast.
He's willing himself to tell me I'm appalling, to rail at me and to restate what I already know better than I want to.
Dear
Until the
God,
moment
no.
the-
I feel like my camera is not even. Sorry if it's really bad. I finished Strange Unearthly Things. It's right now 8:30, so I'm about 3 hours into this challenge. I think this is the only time in my life reading a book where I've read a sort of love triangle and I've rooted for the wrong person. That's never happened to me before. I'm in between a 2.5 and a 3 star. Like a 2.5 feels way too low, a 2.75 feels way too picky, but a 3 star feels too high for the way that this book ends. I really enjoyed this book. I think this book is one of the most unique stories that I've read. I like genuinely don't think I've ever read a story like this one. I don't read a lot of like paranormal stories, so that just kind of makes sense. But yeah, the ending of it was a little like you knew how it was going to go, you knew what was going to happen, and it was kind of cringy, but it was still good. Yeah, if you are interested in this book just from hearing me talk about it, I would really recommend to wait until October, the fall time. I think that would be good. I also don't think that this is a good book to binge just because the way that the romance plays out, it happens really fast in my opinion, and there's not a lot of like signs in my opinion that the romance is actually developing. So if you read it over time, it's going to feel natural, but if you just binge read it, it doesn't feel natural. I'm also curious because the main character, her name is Jane Ray, and I think this is like a Jane Eyre retelling, but I've never read Jane Eyre. I think that's a book by Charlotte Bronte, right? That's a classic. I don't know. I think this is like a reimagination of that story. I could just be lying to you. Anyways, this is currently what the timer is looking like, and I was choosing between 2 books for my next book to read. I'm really in the mood to read a romance. I don't know what it is. I think it's the fact that like spring is on the way that I really want to read romance. I just want to be giggly and fill the void of not being in a relationship myself. But I've been meaning to read this book and wanting to read this book, and so I can't put it off anymore. The next book for this 24-hour readathon that we are going to be reading is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. Also, sorry if you can hear my laundry in the background. It is still a Saturday. I still do need to be an adult. I am so beyond excited for this book. If you don't know anything about it, it's supposed to be kind of like Daisy Jones and the Six, but about figure skaters. Like, from my understanding, the way that the writing is more so interview style, looking back on these 2 figure skaters who took the world by storm. They had a huge romance and a falling out. And I love figure skating. I love everything to do with it. It's such a beautiful sport. It's genuinely like, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I think figure skating is one of those sports that feels like you're watching love on ice. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I've been wanting to read this book. I got this pretty close to its release, but I just haven't had the time to. It hasn't felt like the right time to read it. I think just sitting down and binging it, I really want to annotate it, underline a lot. I think right now I'm gonna start the audiobook actually, because I do want to get ready. I want to do my hair and my makeup. That way it will hopefully keep me awake for a little bit longer into the day. But yeah, this is gonna be book 2. Let's just get straight into it. Finished getting ready and I made it to chapter 12 of the audiobook. I'm not gonna lie, when I was starting, like when I decided to listen to the audiobook so that I could get ready for the day. I was kind of nervous. This is a book that I really want to actually read, not listen to, but I have to say, listening to the audiobook is so good. They have multiple narrators for the different characters. It feels so intriguing because yes, the book is a little bit interview style, but you go back and forth between direct scenes of events that happened and then interviews that are happening with related characters. And I'm enjoying it so much so far. I grew up as a kid who was in multiple different sports. My main sports were basketball and then tennis. And especially any time that it is a book talking about kids who are in a lot of sports and talking about kind of like the sacrifices that you have to make when you are down that path. Obviously, I didn't stay in sports. I quit when bullying happened, and when it just got too drama filled, it just was not worth it to me. Unfortunately, I feel like that's a very common small town Midwest thing, is like your last name's more important than how good you are at the sport. I quickly beelined it out, and I'm so glad that I did that. But it also, like, talking about like the sacrifices and the amount of work that you had to put in while you're still a kid and you're just growing up, like, it makes me think back to when I was younger and was in traveling basketball, or I would go to summer camps for tennis. Like, the sport that you're in, even though it's one season, it's only like 3-4 months out of the year, it's something that you're thinking about all the time. It's something that you're constantly working towards. And I don't know, I love reading about it and having characters that I can relate to on that aspect. And yeah, again, I love figure skating, and I'm just so happy that I get to sit down and binge read this today. So I am gonna switch from the audiobook to reading the physical copy. And yeah, I guess I'll give you some more updates when I have some. This book has such beautiful writing, and like our two main characters, Heath and why do I never know the main character's name? Katrina. I never can remember the main character's name. Katerina and Heath met when they were younger. Their lives are so intertwined with each other, which also like brings a different level to their ice skating. I'm not gonna spoil anything, because like I really don't know anything yet. I'm only on page 88, but I do want to say this quote because this is so beautiful. There's a quote earlier in the book that's like, imagine being so in love with someone that you learn an Olympic sport for them. Shut up. That's one that I've heard other people talk about, but I've never heard anyone say this one, and this paragraph just got me. How long have you two been together? Bella asked. I wasn't sure whether she meant our skating partnership or our relationship. We met when we were 10 and started skating together shortly thereafter, but as far as our romance, there wasn't a clear demarcation? I don't know what that word is. An obvious before or after. Even our first kiss had been on ice. A brush of the lips during a choreographed position change. The contact so fleeting, I thought it may have been accidental. Until we did it again during the next run through, lingering long enough that we botched the beginning of a diagonal step sequence. I loved Heath Rocha before I knew what love was. Oh, this writing is making me feel feelings, and I love it. It's so good so far. This is what the timer is looking like, and I'm feeling great. I'm having so much fun. Okay, back to reading. I can't tell if I'm having more fun, like if I had more fun listening to it, because it is a very good audiobook. I would recommend this as an audiobook, but because the writing is so beautiful, I like just want to sit and annotate everything. So that's what I'm gonna do. I officially finished The Favorites. And oh my god, I think this is one of the best books that I've ever read. If you've not read this, please add this to your TBR. You need to read this immediately. It's so well written, and like the characters, the relationships, every character feels real, and just the way that the book ends, I will say the like last half of the book, everything gets tangled up, and there are plot twists that are kind of thrown in there that to a certain point it feels a little bit repetitive. I loved it so much. This is like not even a 6-star. Like this is like a bajillion star. Please check this book out if you have not already. It's right now 1:55, almost 2 o'clock. It took me a while to finish this book. this is what our timer is looking like, and I don't know what I'm gonna read next. I'm only 2 books in, which isn't as much as I feel like I usually would be at this time. I want to read a short book, but I also want to read a book off of my March TBR. So I think we're gonna read a book on my March TBR over a short, give me a second. So this is my March TBR. I can tell you, I'm not gonna read this right now. I'm in between these 2 books, or I could read a shorter book, I Who Have Never Known Men, except I just opened and the words are really tiny, so we might not do that one. We might do one of these. I think I might do Their Vicious Games to give me a little bit of a break, because this is YA, so it'll be a little bit easier to get through. The font is pretty big, so yeah. Let me see actually if they have this on Spotify audiobooks, because it's really nice outside right now and I would really like to take Miss Bella for a walk. We're gonna listen to Their Vicious Games on audiobook. Right now 2:30, which is the time of day I like notoriously always get really tired, and I actually just hit under 15 hours left of this reading challenge, and I kind of want to stay up late tonight and read and just like keep going. That way I would really like tomorrow to maybe only have like 8 hours to read, which is still a lot, but like a lot less than 12. So we're gonna have an energy drink, because being in the time of day where I would usually take a nap and being at the part of reading where I have to start a new book and dive into new characters, not doing a lot for keeping me awake. So we are gonna have an energy drink. I also do know I've been talking a lot on my channel about how I need to stop drinking energy drinks because they give me a lot of anxiety. But usually if I like span it out over a large period of time, I don't get anxiety from it, let alone I actually just took my anxiety meds. So hopefully that will cancel it out. Today's energy drink of choice is a Ghost EDC electric limeade. I've never had this before. I've been loving Ghost lately. I don't know what it is. I just don't usually drink these, and they have all new flavors. I usually drink Celsius or Alani, but yeah, we're gonna try this, see if this is good. That's really good. I thought I would talk about the book that I'm reading. In the last clip, I did choose a YA book because it's a lot easier on my brain, but I don't know if anyone else feels this, and maybe I'm just feeling this now because I'm older and I'm not the demographic for these books itself. YA books miss a lot of details to a point where it sometimes feels harder for me to know what's going on, as well as I really love YA books that came out in like the 2010s. Obviously, that's when those books would have been perfect for me to read in the first place. But I really like that era of YA books because it's just the story in the YA writing style versus reading YA books that come out nowadays. It makes sense with the evolution of technology that technology is going to be big in these books, but I'm sorry, I cannot stand when like TikTok, or in this book they were talking about like a Spotify playlist, and the playlist name was like what I need to play when I'm on aux, which is something that's in reality we understand that that's very big, but I hate when stuff like that is brought up into books. I don't even know what genre this is. Let's look on Goodreads. This is technically thriller, young adult, mystery, horror. In this world, our main character is in a like prestigious private school for high school, and she's there because of a scholarship, and she ends up getting into Yale, but her acceptance ends up getting rescinded because of a fight that she got into with basically like a rich white girl, is from my understanding. And in order for her to get back into an Ivy League so that her future is not messed up, she has to join this thing called The Finish, and it's basically a scholarship contest, but when she joins the competition she figures out that like things are not as they seem. I'm only on page 43. Only thing that's happened is she went to a party and she graduated. I really don't know how I'm gonna feel about this, but my brain right now is having a hard time connecting to anything because obviously I've already read 2 books today. I also just read a 6-star read. So I have a feeling that's gonna affect how I feel about this, let alone how I've been feeling about YA. So yeah, I don't have any feelings about this. This clip was literally just so that I could talk to you about what the book is about. But now I'm just sitting procrastinating because I don't necessarily have the energy to read right now. So I'm gonna go back and sit on the couch. It was nice. I did go for a little walk with Stella. It is really cold outside, but it was nice to move around. But now we're gonna move around back to the couch to sit and read for the next like 5 hours. I have 2 locations that I always read at, either my bedroom or the living room. And it's right now light outside, so we're gonna read in the living room. I will say I have been reading on the couch, so maybe we'll read on my little chair. There's only so many different locations to read at when you live in a studio apartment. I only made it an extra 30 pages. I'm only on page 80, but there's already outright racism going on in this book. I don't watch a lot of movies or TV shows, so I don't have like a lot that I could compare this book to, but the feeling that I'm getting is what I haven't actually watched the movie. From the clips that I've seen of the movie, it's that one, I think it's like the hide or seek, it's like Ready or Not or something, where it's on their wedding night and it's this rich family who is like the heirs of like this board game people. I've never watched the movie, but the feeling that I got whenever I would see clips of the movie, eerie, something is wrong with this family. That's what I'm getting from the family that is hosting this competition. Obviously, there are a lot of undertones of like just a difference in classes. This family obviously thinks that they're better than other people because they have money, but then they also don't understand like sacrifices that other people have to make to have similar experiences to them. Like they don't understand their privilege that they have. I'm very intrigued by this. I knew going into this book that this is what this book was about, but I'm intrigued in the way that the author is writing it. That movie is kind of what I am picturing in my head, like the big manor and like this dinner and all of these people who come from different circumstances talking to these people who are just entitled. That's kind of like what's playing in my mind right now. Stella also is still asleep. I feel my phone vibrating. Where's my phone?
Hi.
Hello,
I
what's
just
up?
got hanging out with Paige. You look so cute. I know you're filming. But you look so cute. She's so cute, everybody.
I just talked to my sister for a little bit. I did pause the timer. This is the one time I have paused the timer. We got 14 hours and 25 minutes. I finished this book. I have a lot of opinions on this book, but I also feel like I'm slightly still confused about what I read. I'm not gonna lie, part of how I feel like I'm kind of having a hard time getting into stories right now. I think the next book that I pick needs to be a very, very like brain dead book because I've already read 2 books today and I haven't really been reading a lot in general lately. So I'm kind of starting to struggle with this challenge. Like I feel like that needs to be said before I go into how I'm feeling about this book. I think rating wise, I would give it a 3-star. I really enjoyed how this book talks about classism, privilege, and racism. It talks about a lot of those topics within metaphorical scenes and references, but also talks about it outright, and I really enjoyed that. I think that's very important to the story itself. It's definitely like a main pillar of the story. I don't know how I can really talk about the book without spoiling anything, but I'm gonna try my hardest. So obviously I kind of already talked about how our main character gets into this contest, but the contest is very quickly found out to not be what she thinks that the contest is. And in my mind, I wish I could turn this part of my brain off, or I wish I could not be like this, but when I read certain books, it's really hard for me to read the book and be like, well, that, like, my mind's always like, well, that wouldn't work, because technically this book takes place in the real world, and there are certain aspects of the story where I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I think this book would have hit so much harder if it took place in a sort of fantasy world. Not even that like magic or fantasy beings needed to be in the world. There are certain plot points that don't make sense with this being in the real world as the setting. Besides for that, I really liked this. I liked the story. It definitely feels very YA. Like, it feels like a younger YA audience would enjoy this. Definitely, like, if you are middle school, maybe early high school, I think that you would like this. Literally none of the characters are likable from the family, which is understandable. So yeah, 3 stars for this book. We're actually below 12 hours. I have 11 hours and 33 minutes. I'm gonna pause it right now because my sister said that she has a surprise for me. So I'm gonna go visit them for a little bit, and then I'm gonna make some dinner. I really want oatmeal because I have like berries and bananas that need to get used up. So I'm gonna pause the timer for now, and then we will come back to this tonight because, like, yes, I could be done today and read for 12 hours or 11 hours and 30 minutes tomorrow, but I really want to see how long I can stay up and read for. So I will talk to you when I am back to start reading again. I actually really like doing 24-hour challenges. I should do these more often, maybe once a month. My last one I did was like December, which isn't that long ago, but that was like 3 months ago, so it kind of is. But let me know if you'd like to see these monthly. I probably won't do it, but okay, I finished eating dinner. It was really good. I'm really glad I did that. I had a sweet tooth tonight for dinner, so it probably wasn't the most nutritious, but it tasted good. It's right now 6:28, basically 6:30. Let's turn this timer back on. That much longer to read. The next book we are going to read is Cross the Line by Simone Soltani. I really wanted a romance book. I think a romance book is going to be the easiest for me to fall into, for me to absorb the story. And I only had 2, well, technically 3 on my physical TBR, but one of them I'm saving for a different video, and one of them I'd already softy enough. So we're gonna try this one. I'm very excited. I love F1. I did do this video to read my physical TBR, but like more importantly, read the books that have been on my physical TBR for ages, and I've only really picked newer books. I'm curious if the F1 race schedule like matches this year. Miami being the 5th through the 7th, I know that for sure, just because it's the weekend before my birthday. And I'm pretty sure Imola usually is like the 19th through the 21st. I either just made the best or the worst decision. I read the first chapter of this book and I was feeling so like gross in my makeup, so I decided to quick take a shower. Now we're gonna lay in bed and read. Now this is either going to be the best thing because I'm gonna be super comfortable and binge read this, or I will fall asleep. And we're just gonna read until we fall asleep. Morning. Day 2 of the 24-hour readathon. This is how much I got on the timer. Yesterday, laying in bed was a bad idea, but it also wasn't. I did need the sleep. I didn't go to bed because I was tired. I went to bed because I'm getting to the point where I've read so much that I don't want to read. I just can't like absorb anything. Got 10 hours and 12 minutes. It's right now 6:40. I did want to wake up at 5 again today, but that just wasn't going to happen. So we are right now on chapter 11 of Cross the Line, and I do have to say I am really enjoying this book. If you are a fan of F1, there are little things in this book that, like, there's this race driver who his dad's money is like the only thing that's keeping him on the team, and it's Dev's partner, and like that's very Lance Stroll coded, or like it's Dave, I think is technically, it's DEV, but it's pronounced Dave. I was listening to the audiobook this morning. He was voted like best smile in the paddock, Daniel Ricciardo. Just little things like that that I'm enjoying. I just finished Cross the Line, exactly at 7.5 hours left of this reading challenge, and I thought we could sit down, talk about my feelings about this book while doing a little skincare. I'm gonna do some little eye masks because I'm not going to lie, I'm so tired. I might honestly make another coffee. I just finished my other coffee. Oh my god, what if I freak the out? So when it comes to reading right now, I am starting, I feel like I always feel like this at the end of these challenges, but I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. I don't know how I'm gonna get this on my face because this is not facing the right way. I feel like that was the most difficult way I could have put that on my eye. I'm happy that I did this because I know this coming work week I'm gonna be so busy and I'm not gonna have any time to read. But I am one of those people that, like, when I read a lot of books at once and really close to each other, like if I read for a really long time, I just get burnt out. And I don't want to say I'm burning out because it's not that, but I do kind of want to do other things with my time. So I think my last book that I'm going to read, I'm going to listen to a majority of it. I would like to take her for a little WALK. I also kind of want to do some cleaning, so I think we're going to listen to an audiobook for our next book. First off, I will say, if you are an F1 fan, please read this book. This is so good. However, if you are not an F1 fan, I don't think that this is a sports romance that you would enjoy. I find this about F1 books, like F1 romances in general, but they are always highly involved in the sport because the sport is insane. It's like a whole weekend spectacle, not just random games throughout the week. And I feel like anytime that I read like a hockey romance or a basketball romance, anything like that, the sport isn't as involved as it is just the male main character's job. But anytime it's an F1 romance, it's so involved in the story. Also because F1 is like constantly traveling around the world. If you don't like F1, I don't know if you would like this book, but I really enjoyed this book. It is brother's best friend. Our main character goes through an event. It's kind of like a stereotypical sports romance. Something happens where he needs his image to be saved, so he hires his brother's best friend, little sister Willow, to be a social media manager because she's unemployed. She just graduated, she really needs a job. They have kind of a past. He is her childhood crush. From there, you know, the romance kind of ignites. I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, I was thinking about this. I think this book is a solid 4-star, and when I was thinking that, I was like, I don't know if I've rated a book 4 stars in so long. It's always either a solid 3-star, maybe a 3.5, or it's a 5-star, or it's lower. A 4-star, I never really rate books anymore. Don't know why, but this is 4 stars. Read this if you haven't. I will be continuing the series. I think right now there's one other book from this author in this like interconnected series, but yeah, we'll be continuing this. I want to say this is going to be the last book of this video, but I don't really know. It is taking me a lot longer to read. I've said that like 17 times in this video so far, but the next book that I want to read is another book on my March TBR, because after this, the only other book on my March TBR will be One Day, and I think that book is going to take me a little bit longer to read. So I kind of want to just get this book off of my March TBR so that I can focus on that book for the rest of the month, even though, hey, it's only the second day of the month. But anyways, we are going to be reading Yours for the Taking by Gabrielle Korn. This is a dystopian book set in the future. The year is 2050. Ava and her girlfriend live in what's left of Brooklyn. Though they love each other, it's hard to find happiness while the effects of climate change rapidly eclipse their world. Soon it won't be safe outside at all. The only people guaranteed survival are the ones whose applications are accepted to the Inside Project, a series of weather-safe, city-sized structures around the world. It's basically basically a climate-based dystopian book. One of the main characters ends up getting accepted into this like underground sort of society, but she quickly realizes that it's not what it seems. I'm not gonna lie, I am in the mood for like a fantasy. I haven't been in the mood for a fantasy in a really long time, but I feel like a lot of the books that I've been reading have been set in the real world. But the only two fantasies that I have on my shelf are Legendborn and Scythe, and I really want to read those back to back. I want to read the series back to back so that I actually keep up with the series, because I've realized lately I'm really bad with starting series and then losing interest and never going back and never finishing them. Like, I can't be bothered. So for those ones, I really want to read the entire series in one go, and I think Legendborn has the third book just came out. Anyways, this is the next book we're gonna read. Finished the book. The dust jacket is over there. Let me go grab it. I finished the book. Also, I love when you finish a book and like the cover makes sense, because this cover makes so much more sense after reading this book. I actually really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I like that this is a dystopian book. It talks a lot about social issues and how those social issues led us into this dystopian world, and how even though people think that they are good and that they've moved forward from certain ways of thinking, that the way that they are thinking is basically the same but slightly different. I liked the multiple different POVs, and I really liked the way that the story like connected. I will say I did take an hour nap. I paused my timer. It's right now 2:40, and this is how much time. So right now 2:40, that's how much time is left on the timer. I went back and forth between listening to this and then reading it. I did take a break to take a nap. I think like the first half of this book feels so different from the second half. I don't know if it feels like that because I took a nap or just because the writing does feel that different. Yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is book 5 that I've finished. Holy crap. I'm gonna be honest, I have 3 more hours left of this challenge, and I don't feel like reading anything that's on my physical TBR right now. So I think I'm gonna take a break from my physical TBR, also because I want to lay down on my couch and read a book from my library that I have on my Kindle. It's a fantasy romance by Bridget Kemmerer, Defy the Night. I know nothing about it. I was scrolling through my library's new books and it was one of them and it was available. So I think my library also has all of the books in the series. So hopefully I really like this, because then I can just go straight into reading the entire series. We still have 3 hours to go. Oh my God, did I just break my Kindle? Okay. Let's see how far I get into this. I'm about to hit under an hour for this reading challenge, and it feels amazing. We are almost at a minute left of this challenge. The past 24 hours I've spent pretty much on this couch. Wow, 24 hours. It'll be a few months before I do this again. I thought we could wrap up and talk about all of the books that I read. Just go over them again before we are done with this video, I guess. Wow, this is crazy. I read so much in today's video. I wasn't expecting to read these many books. Granted, I did read a lot of YA books that go by a lot faster, but I read 5 physical books. I read so many more books than I thought. How far am I in this book? I'm 54% through this book. Holy shit. I thought I was taking my time with these reads. Is this the most that I've read in a 24-hour readathon? I'm actually amazed that I read this many books. So I started with Strange Unearthly Things, YA thriller, kind of fantasy-esque, paranormal. I want to reread this book. I think this is my favorite book that I've ever read. I read this yesterday and like I can't get it out of my mind. This book, please read this if you've not. The Favorite's Lane Fargo. Then I read Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. This is like thriller, murder mystery-esque kind of. I think this would have been so much better if it was set in a fantasy world, but I do like the undertones and like what this book is talking about a lot. So yeah, read this. And then I read Cross the Line and F1, Best Friend's Brother romance. Good. Don't really have much more to say about this. I will be continuing with this series though, so excited to hopefully find the next one. I like never see F1 romances in stores unless it's the Lauren Asher series, so fingers crossed I can find the rest of that series. And then I read Yours for the Taking, a dystopian climate crisis based book. Liked this one. Was not what I was expecting, but also kind of was what I was expecting. If you're interested in this, I would recommend to read this unless you have very high anxiety about the way that the world is right now, because this is one of those books that you need to be in a good mental space to read because it hits a little too close to home. And then Defy the Night, I've been reading on my Kindle and I'm actually really enjoying this one. I think I'm gonna just binge this series. I'm gonna take a shower and I might just keep reading the rest of tonight. But yeah, that was all for today's video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you're still watching to this point, let me know your favorite heart emoji in the comments. I'm curious. I always use the white heart. That's my favorite one. I will see you in my next video. If you want me to keep doing 24-hour readathons, let me know. I had a lot of fun with this until day 2. We might have to switch the way that we do the 24-hour readathon next time, but that's a next time issue, not a this time issue. Okay, I'm gonna go. Bye.